All right, so this is the second time I'm making this video because as I was talking and I was referring to the paper that I sort of printed out here just to keep me in line, because as I talk I usually go off in a different tangent, so I try to make a little outline so I can stay on point. And as I'm talking about it and I look over to refer to it to make sure I'm right, the wind blows it under the deck and I'm not going under there. So I went up and I reprinted it, and here we are, take two. So as I was saying in the last video that I deleted because wind, I made a video yesterday talking about conversation I had and talking about the fight or flight response and just kind of giving my perspective, how I kind of interpret it. This is currently what I learned that a while ago, but I always like to keep learning, because if I stop learning, I'll start to forget, and then I don't feel like I'll be useful as a dog trainer if I forget. So, this is part of me continuing my learning, and I'm trying to share this it helps me learn, if I could say it out loud. Helps me get better with speaking more clearly too. I do a lot of writing. I'm typically alone most of the time, and studying and reading a bunch, and that's great. I get to learn things, but what use is it if I can't share it? Like, I need to be able to share it so I can help dogs and help owners and all that. So I'm actually going to be talking today about 𝘾𝘼𝙉𝙄𝙉𝙀. He's actually just referred to as HM, so I'm just going to say HM. I'm talking about this guy Henry, and talking about an article. I'm going to be posting the links to the one of Henry actually just got off of Wikipedia, and I kind of went through some of it and added kind of what I know and I kind of added what I know to what I was reading off Wikipedia. I'm going to put the link to that, and also an article. I believe it's called Decoding the Canine Mind. That's what I put here. I might actually be referring to it wrong, but again, I'll put the link in it for anybody who wants to go in depth and maybe read yourself. If not, just listen to me talk, and I'll be covering this and just giving my own interpretation. Again, I might have read something wrong. Maybe I have something wrong myself. This may not be perfect. Again, I'm trying to learn, and I'm trying to share what I'm learning. So let's get into this. This is going to be part one of possibly a 2 or 3 part series. I actually didn't get to finish the article and go through it all. Probably gonna take a break after this and give myself a break, because I love to work and learn, study, and then what is it called, I get burnout. I feel burnout almost all the time. I just work myself to death and I don't take breaks, and I'm really bad at it, and I've been trying to work on it. So anyways, let's go and work some work. Now, 𝘾𝘼𝙉𝙄𝙉𝙀, again referred to, actually I think I'm saying the last name wrong, but HM. So this was a guy who had epilepsy, and I believe, if I'm remembering right off of what I've read, I didn't write this down, but he willingly got himself it was part of a study in which they did a bilateral medial temporal lobectomy. So what that means is, this big fancy long word that I only can say because I'm reading it, they cut off part of his hippocampus and amygdala. These are 2 parts of the brain. Now, the hippocampus is really responsible for memory as long as other functions, and the amygdala is responsible for really emotions and your decision making. That's why with like anxiety disorders and such, I have generalized anxiety disorder. I take medication, I see a therapist for it, and I find it really helps, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about that with this video. But again, the hippocampus is responsible for memory, and the amygdala kind of with fear responses, emotions, and decision making. And that's, we don't really know exactly what each one does. These are really just studies that I'm reading through, and I'm trying to interpret myself and share what I'm learning. Anyways, and also part of his temporal cortex is cut off in this lobectomy. The temporal cortex is responsible for visual memory and language, and again, some other things. But these are just some of the notes I put down. And now, having these cut off, they didn't really know exactly at the time what was going to happen. I really think this guy just, I don't know, his epilepsy must have been so bad, he, just tried something. And what happened was, afterwards, he had a little bit of amnesia from when the surgery, I guess we'll say it, the surgery took place. He couldn't remember anything from about a few months beforehand, like prior to this, and of course afterwards, because he was put under for the, to cut his brain. I'm sorry, there's wind in the background, so I have no clue how the audio is, but we get what we get. I'm recording this off my phone. Anyways, so he went ahead and he has amnesia from it. But what's very interesting, and there's some sort of debate as to exactly what happened. I couldn't really get the, you know, I never met this guy, so I can't tell you exactly what happened. I'm going off of my notes here. He had the amnesia, but he also couldn't remember anything new. Like, he couldn't get any new information from anything afterwards. He can remember everything before, but trying to take in any new memories, he has, I guess, cut off the hippocampus, which is responsible again for memory. He couldn't form new memories, but he was able to change some of his memories from what he known before. And again, I'm trying to interpret this myself. He was able to change his old memories with new ideas to it, but he couldn't make new ideas. I really don't understand what that means either. If you're listening to this, I barely understand myself what the hell that means. But these studies from this man really gave us a lot of new research in both psychology as well as dog training. And I really want to relate some of this over to dog training and what I do with dogs. Now, let me read some of this. Yeah, there's arguments, see if they're out his memory. So, a lot of our studies kind of come from, well, originally came from this guy, and from studies of his, you know, cutting off the brain, which moves on to decoding the canine mind, which is going to be the second part here. So we're getting away from HM, this guy. So if you know anything about dog training, you'll very quickly find that there's almost political debates in dog training, and it's really around how we train the dogs. Not necessarily how dogs learn. We, you know, yeah, we're still learning about it. We're still trying to really get into it. Starting to, and you know, in the psychology realm, we're really trying to get into mental disorders, how to help people with them. Like I said myself, I have anxiety disorder, so I understand it to a point. It's hard to say anyone really understands it. But, you know, there is a lot of politics in dog training. You have balance trainers, you have positive only trainers. And again, it's not the debate of whether, you know, does the balance trainer actually care about the dogs? Does the positive trainer really care about the dogs? I find that most people from both sides, they, you know, their goals are the same. They want to help dogs, same as me. That's why I'm a dog trainer. I want to help dogs. But there's so much debate onto really how to do it. And that just shows that we, you know, we're still learning. We're still trying to figure out, you know, what's going on. How can we help dogs? How can we make it better? I can tell you from my own experiences, going to psychology, trying medications. It took me 2 years to even take medication because I was so against it. But now I'm happy I did, because it, you know, it helps me. I don't think I'd be making this video if I was still going through all the anxiety and depression that I was feeling before. So again, let's focus really on the dog training aspect here. So all the new studies of, what did I call it? Yes, the current dog training and science realm, which is really just the new sort of updated versions of dog training today and what we're doing. It's really, I think you can call it now canine cognitive science. In psychology, they use something called cognitive behavior therapy. That's what my psychologist kind of uses. He's really just helping me sort of understand my thoughts. That's kind of the idea behind it. At least I believe. I'm not the psychologist, he is. But it is very interesting. I do find it to be very helpful. And I've been trying to really relate what I've been learning in psychology to dogs, because it really is the same thing. I mean, cognitive behavior therapy, and the term I don't think I made it. I actually read it off the thing. I believe it's in the article. Again, you can check yourself if you'd like. But canine cognitive science, or just cognitive science in general, that's exactly what we're doing nowadays. That's what it's called. Now, I wrote this in all caps, so I'm going to read this straight out. I really don't want to, this is really just to help me stay on task. But now, a lot of this is new and recent. Oh, I made a typo myself. I can't even understand what I wrote. So, I just talked about sort of dog training policies. I kind of went over this already. But really, every dog trainer kind of trains differently. And it's not because anyone's necessarily wrong, it's that we don't really understand exactly what's going on. Some people are still using really outdated techniques. they actually are getting some success because some of the old training techniques do work. I don't know exactly, those trainers know exactly why. I don't think anyone really knows exactly why when we're working with dogs, because there's no way to know 100%. But I mean, at least someone's out there trying. And I always try to look at it in that positive sense. But there's a reason why I'm doing this, is so I can learn. And if I, again, when we stop learning is when we don't get to become better at helping dogs. And you have to continuously keep learning. And now let's go with the sort of the research from this, Decoding the Canine Mind. Now, it's sort of suggested that dogs kind of adapted through evolution of really being socially compatible with us. What exactly does that mean? They've sort of based their survival on sort of working with us. Being able to really rely on us as humans to help them with their needs while also helping us with ours. And you can see back in the day, I mean, dogs are still used today for protection reasons. They're still used for tracking, so search and rescue, to help people with physical disabilities. You'll see service dogs in that sense. And you know, they've really adapted to be able to work with us, kind of understand us, and some of their brain has even developed, and some to be very similar to ours in a sense. Of course, they're different. For example, they can smell a lot better than us. I actually believe I wrote that somewhere in here, that dogs sort of adapted into their ability to smell more sensitively than us. Like their parts of the brain or whatever the structure is, I think everyone can tell, you know, dogs are always sniffing for something, and they sniff first before they even do anything else. It's like everything has to be sniffed first so they can learn. That's how they learn. And you know, that's obviously, there's some differences between humans and dogs. They're different species, and that's, for example, that's one of them. They have better smells. That's really nothing new. But it is interesting to understand that they actually sort of adapted in that sense to really work with us. And that's part of their survival. It's part of surviving as a dog, is to rely on us. And I wrote here that, I mean, for that reason, we as humans are really responsible for both the suffering and pleasure of dogs. It's really up to us to make sure that they aren't suffering, or that we can help them to suffer less, whatever we can do, however we can help. If you're a dog owner, I mean, you didn't rescue a dog, adopt a dog, get a dog from a breeder, whatever you did, you know, you do that, take care of the dog. Once you do that, you are responsible for everything about the dog. Everything. Like I said here, we're responsible for both the suffering and the pleasure the dog kind of has. And this brings me to the next point. This is, I feel, what really trips up a lot of people. Now, every single dog is different. No matter if they're the same breed, and training with, talking to different dog owners, a lot of the time I get someone who comes in, they're like, oh, I had Labradors my whole life. They were so easy. I've trained them myself. But this Labrador, she's so different than all the rest. He doesn't listen. I don't know what I'm doing with him. Here's the thing. Your dogs that you had in the past and the dog that you have now, even though they might be the same breed, they can even be from the same lineage, the same, the same sort of family tree, I guess you can say. I'm moving my hand over here, but I'm not even playing the video. Every dog is simply different. And that's why you can try the same training things, the same training techniques, but every dog learns differently, acts differently. There's retrievers who don't like to retrieve. There are hound dogs who don't use their nose that well and can actually be terrible at sniffing, even though that's part of the breed. That's what they were bred for. And now, you'll see similarities, of course, between different breeds, between different dogs, but every single dog is different. The way you trained your first dog may not be how you're able to train your 8th dog. It might be similar, but there are going to be differences. Even if it's from, again, the same bloodline of the dog, the same breed, it doesn't matter. Every single dog is different, just like every single human is different. We are all unique, same as the dogs. Now, obviously, in terms of differences, I already talked about the the way it smells. I actually jumped ahead there. But I do want to talk next about a myth in dog training. So bring me, we're almost to the end of this. I know it's kind of a longer video than I liked. The last one was 7 minutes. I'm gonna try and stop it before it gets to 20 minutes, and we'll pick up either tomorrow or a couple days from now on part 2. But now, the myth is, are dogs only capable of learning with food? Or are they only capable of learning with training tools like the prong collar, the e-collar, whichever tools you pick? You can find different harnesses that are, they're marketed as no pull, get your dog to stop pulling you. That's actually pretty bullshit. Not to say it can't work, but there's really is more to it. You can't just buy a harness that says no pull and voila, your dog's gonna stop pulling you. It's not happening. But the answer to that is no. Dogs are not only capable of learning through food. Dogs are not only capable of learning through prong. There is no one way to train any single dog ever, anywhere at all. There's not one way. Now, can treats be useful in training? Yes, I use them myself. Can a prong collar be useful in training? Yes, I personally don't like them much, but they can be used. It can help the dog. Prong collar is actually, I'm not going to put I actually don't remember the article that I read, but it showed using treats, using prongs, using e-collars, and it was I was trying to, again, this is kind of getting into dog training politics. It was trying to get into whether, prong collars and e-collars are, what's the word? I can't think of it. Humane. Is it humane to use them? My personal opinion is yes, it is humane, but I wrote this down. That we need to understand that whether we're using treats, prong collars, e-collars, any type of training for the dog causes them stress. The treats, obviously, if you're doing it correctly, and again, I think all of them, whether it's tools, whether it's treats, they can all help the dog, but it's important that it's something the dog wants, something the dog likes. Again, every dog is different. The way you train with one dog will not be the way you train your 4th, your 5th, your 8th, the newest dog, whatever it may be. Every single dog is different. I own an e-collar. I don't typically use it much on Chino. It's not that I don't like them. If I feel like I don't need to use them, I'm not going to. But I'm very much open to the use of using a prong or an e-collar, especially when it comes to certain dogs with aggression, because I have seen people who have helped dogs from this aggressive state of mind, and has helped them become, even if at the very least, just have less stress throughout their lifetime. And this is a different part of the research from Decoding the Canine Mind. 13 out of 15 dogs. This is something, the studies where they train dogs to keep their faces sort of put onto what's called an fMRI scanner, and they would scan the dog's brains. And what they found was 13 out of 15 dogs actually get more excited from praise and basically being told they're a good boy, that's what I mean by praise, than getting treats. So you can train your dog without any treats at all. At least that's what the studies suggest. You don't need to use treats. You don't need to use prong collars. You don't need to use e-collars. They can help, and some dogs might actually benefit a lot from it, but it's not needed. And again, this is 13 out of 15 dogs, so all it is saying is that it's not needed. That's really what I'm getting from that. That's how I'm interpreting it. And I'm not sure if I ever said this when I was talking about the myth. So that is kind of the myth, I guess. You don't need it. I use treats a lot, but I also sometimes go on walks and I have nothing on me. No treats, no nothing. And yet I can still relate to my dog when he did something good, when he did something bad. Because it's really dependent on the dog, the specific dog that you have. Now, I think I basically went through everything I wanted to touch on. I will try to make these videos a little better, a little easier. I know when I talk, I jump around and I'm terrible at that, but I'm going to try on working on this. And, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for listening to my long rant. I'm getting over to 20 minutes, and I'm going to pick up with a part 2. Again, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe I'll do it a couple days from now. I want to put some more sort of research together and we can talk about it. If you enjoyed this video, if you don't mind liking, sharing this video, I'm probably posting this on Facebook. I might even put it on YouTube, I'm not sure. I will leave a link in the video, the description if I do. But for now, it's going on Facebook. And if you actually sat here through the almost 20 minutes of video, thank you. Please like, please subscribe, please comment. Tell me, do you disagree with this? Did you go through the links and actually check something and maybe you found something different? I actually haven't read all of the Decoding the Dog article. Again, that's going to be in part 2. But again, like it, share the video. This is Jason from Jason's Dog Walking Training, and thank you for your time.